Diane McQueen, who is representing the Outlaw Dirty Money Campaign. And Diane will explain what that is. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Diane Queen. Fresh up, I was at the door breakfast this morning. So. Oh, yeah. So I have to read the thing here because I won't remember who I said what to, since I'm doing this twice. For those of you who don't know me, last year I was one of the lead. Can you hear me? Too loud or not loud? No, I can hear Let's see if I can get this.
Thank you.
Sure. Let me get this here.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I don't want to do with microphones. Okay. Is that a little better? Okay. So, last year I was one of the lead volunteers for Yavapai County for Outlaw Dirty Money. This year, Becky Daggett and I'm sure most of you know who Becky is.
Yeah.
If you've lived up here for a while, you at least know her name. Are going to be co-regional coordinators for all of northern Arizona. So we're going to do Yavapai County, Coconino, Apache, Mojave, and who did I leave out? Apache. I have to do it alphabetically. Apache, Coconino, Mojave, Navajo, Yavapai. So we're going to be covering quite a lot of territory. One of the reasons I wanted to do that, I live in Dewey right now. Before I moved down here, we lived up in the Flagstaff area for 30 years. My husband was a teacher at Cromer Elementary for 30 years. I worked for the city of Flagstaff. I worked at the hospital. So we're, long-time residents. I'm a retired engineer. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about today, what Kathy Rutherford asked me to talk about, is what happened in the 2018 campaign. She wanted me to talk about some ramifications of dark money affecting our state, and then our new campaign. Okay, so if I glance at this, it's only because after doing a speaking engagement already today, I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Thinking, I already told them that. So. For those of you who don't know the dirty details of what happened, we had hired a paid circulating company that were headquarters out of state. They opened a temporary office in Phoenix during the campaign period. On July 5th, after we submitted the petitions to the Secretary of State's office, they closed that temporary office, which was normal. Americans for Prosperity, I think we all know who they are, filed a lawsuit for against the paid circulators. But what they did was, they did several things. One, they subpoenaed 15 paid circulators, the 15 who lived the furthest away from Arizona, including our campaign manager, whose home address is Hawaii. But when they found that he was still physically in the state, they dropped that subpoena. They delivered the subpoenas to this closed temporary office on a Saturday, left them with a security guard, and the Arizona Supreme Court ruled that, if these people didn't show up for their hearings, their petitions are gone. And we would have made the ballot. And so that's unfortunate. For Proposition 127, we didn't have the money to bring all these circulators back, especially on such short notice. For Proposition 127, Tom Steyer spent $1.5 million bringing paid circulators back for hearings. We just don't have that kind of money, So, but the good news is, volunteers, all of you here, all of the people around the state, in 5 months collected 150,000 signatures themselves in just 5 months, and with a 95% validity rate, which is unheard of. Paid circulating companies were usually lucky if it's around 70%. So, and that's because volunteers care. And with this time, which I'll get into at the end, it's going to be all volunteer. But everybody should be really proud of themselves what we did. You know, that's an amazing feat. Kathy asked me to talk about the consequences of dirty money and how it affects our state. You know, one of the main things, of course, we probably know is the loss of our voter confidence. Do we know if our vote is being counted? People get disgusted and they don't want to vote. Like I say, I live down in Dewey, and last September, a gentleman from Chino Valley wrote a letter to the editor saying how he wasn't going to vote in the midterms because he felt the system was broken, and he was just disgusted by it all. I then wrote a letter to the editor, which they published, and I said, please vote. Do not vote because you're disgusted with the system. Because the minute we don't vote, they win. And I still believe that. And that's going to be even, we all know, so much more important in 2020. Not just for dirty money, you know, but for our state and presidential elections. The dark money people, you know, and these negative ads you see whether on TV or radio or newspaper, you know, that's what they're targeting, these people. The people they want to get disgusted and don't vote. You know, and unfortunately a lot of times it works. Dark money disconnects us from political action. It disconnects political action from the responsible party. If these people don't have to disclose, then they can lie all they want, and there's no risk to their reputation. You know, they can say what, and they do, right? And the worst thing is, Arizona is ground zero for dark money. We have out of the nation, more dark money is spent in Arizona than anywhere else in the country. And this money comes not just from in-state, a lot of it comes from out-of-state. People out of the country trying to influence our vote. And out of the country and out of the state. You know, they don't live here. Because they have an agenda. I think it's because of our past political history, we're pretty fertile ground for right-wing to try and sway towards their agenda. So that's why, you know, I mean, when Citizens United in 2010, right, and happened, it became legal for them. You know, we all know, and part of that is, you know, dirty money is an equal opportunity destroyer. It really is. It makes many victims. You know, and we all know what happened in 2014 with the gubernatorial election. How much, between the gubernatorial election and Corporation Commission, $15+ million. Most of it was from out of state, was spent. You know, and what ended up happening is our elections become an auction. You know, they're no more our election process. It's who can pay the most to buy what they want. That is not illegal. That's outlaw dirty money. Citizens, you know, you're familiar with Citizens United, the 2010. That's where it's like corporations are people too, and they can spend as much money as they want, and they don't have to disclose. And it just gets worse and worse. You know, other instances in our state, the special election last year of CD8, the one that Debbie Lesko won, I mean, $1.5 million mostly in her favor, from an out-of-state donor was spent on that election. In local, you all know what happened with Proposition 418 and 414. Proposition 418, the Flagstaff ballot last year, tried to overturn Proposition 14, the minimum wage law. You know, I don't know. I saw the flyers. Many of you may have received flyers saying to vote yes on 418, right? Those were paid for by a resident in Virginia. So across the country, they're right here in our hometown, or in our adopted hometown. In Prescott, in the 2017 mayoral election, Mary Beth Hearn and Gene Wilcox were hit by negative flyers. Of course, the other person won the election. The other person who wasn't hit, and those were paid for by out-of-state money. Noel Campbell, who's one of our Republican legislators in the Prescott area, Mary Beth Hearn is his wife. After that happened, he signed on to be an endorser with Outlaw Dirty Money. And he was the only Republican who voted against H.R. 2153, which prohibits cities from enforcing campaign finance law reform, because he knew what it was like. And Gene Wilcox last year was a huge signature gatherer for us, and she will be again. And so it doesn't really matter, you know, it's not just George Soros or the Koch brothers or Tom Steyer. It's a lot of this little stuff coming at us, you know, eating away at our democracy. And we, you know, polling last year showed that 85% of the population in the state favored outlawing dirty money and outlawing dark money. Or just full disclosure, you know, we know that Tempe voted, they had a 91% vote in favor of disclosure. Phoenix had an 85% in favor of disclosure. Unfortunately, H.R. 2153 kind of made that moot. Down in the Prescott Courier, the online version of the Prescott Courier, every week they do a reader poll, and they'll ask you a question, and people can vote, and it's up there for 7 days. The first week in March, they put up a question, and the question was, what are your thoughts on the efforts of the Corporation Commission to expose APS donations to political campaigns? So you could answer one of 3 questions. Yes, they should disclose. No, they shouldn't have to. And 3, I don't care. I watched this poll every day, took screenshots of it. At the end of 7 days, there were about 629 votes. 82% of them said yes, APS should disclose. 3% said no, and 15% said, I don't really care. You know, so if you extrapolate those numbers, I mean, even in deep red Yavapai County, they don't want it either. But what really worried me was that 15% that said, I don't care. You know, that's what really worries. That's, to me, the people we have to target for 2020. You know, make them feel like, yes, your vote doesn't count. And like I say, it's not just dirty money. It's flipping our House and our Senate and way up the chain, the food chain. And so, you know, I worry, it's like, wow, 15% are disgusted with the system. Now, for most of you, I'm sure you're keeping up with some of the Senate bills and the House bills that are out there, and if you're like me, unless you're wearing a neck brace, your head must be spinning, because I know mine is. Right? I mean, every time you turn around, Proposition 306 is trying to gut the independence of the Clean Elections Commission, and we are covering that in our new amendment language. So nobody can tell the Clean Elections Commission what to do as far as dark money disclosure. Senate Bill 1516, which passed in 2006, prohibits the Secretary of State from requiring dark money groups to disclose. It promotes dark money, as I mentioned, the 2115, and then of course we've got House Bill 2244, which was a big hit against initiatives, which required strict compliance on petitions, on signature gathering. I mean, really that overturns not only statutes, but Supreme Court case law, which only called for substantial compliance. And then, you know, I don't know if anybody had read recently about the Senate resolution 1023 that was placed on the agenda. That bill would make ballot initiatives really nearly impossible to secure, because they would require, by imposing geographic distribution requirement for signatures. So right now, if you want to put a ballot a measure on the ballot, whether it's an initiative or a constitutional amendment, you have to get respectively 10 and 15% ballot signatures of the votes cast in the last gubernatorial election. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's a lot. But what this bill would have done is break it up by legislative district. So but this wouldn't take effect, this would have to be voted on in 2020, so it really wouldn't affect us. But it would affect anything after that. So for instance, you know, it's not just 15% of Maricopa County, it's 15, or any of the districts in Maricopa. And if none of the districts make that number, we're never getting on the ballot. But, yeah, I don't know how many people here use RTS, request to speak. If you don't learn, it's great. You know, I really enjoy getting on the computer every morning and saying, what can I vote down today? Because usually, you know, with, I don't know if you guys have done training for that. Yeah, you get the IRA report. This woman just worked so hard to give us a review of what's coming up on the agendas this week. But then in 2023, because of people like us, because we called our representatives, our senators, and because we got on RTS and expressed our opinion, 1023 has been taken off the agenda. So we can make a difference, even just by calling or using RTS. So now, Outlaw Dirty Money 2020, that is our official campaign name. Okay, Outlaw, or sometimes I'll call it ODM 2020. Outlaw Dirty Money 2020. Terry is working hard to finish up the amendment language. It's pretty much down pat. We should, I would say, very, very, very soon, you will be hearing announcements that he's filed with the state. And we'll have an official campaign launch. Once he files with the state, then we can have the petitions printed, because we need that amendment number from the Secretary of State's office that have to go on the petitions and have to go on the amendment language. So very, very, very soon. One of the reasons it's taken a little longer, a month than we thought, is because he's really working hard to get endorsements from some groups around the state, like AEA, the Arizona Advocacy Network. You know we already have the endorsement, and we'll have the huge help of the Democratic parties in the state. Most of the amendment language will be pretty much the same as last year. A couple of major differences is that the benchmark for reporting is going to be 20, for full disclosure, is going to be 20,000 for statewide elections, 10,000 for all other elections. So here's how it works. You know, I'm this guy from Virginia, right? And I want to influence another election in Flagstaff. I donate $5,000 worth of goods, services, something like that, to the local PAC. I then donated another $5,000, so I hit that $10,000 mark. Now, whoever actually wrote the check has to go back and disclose everybody who donated at least $5,000 to that total expenditure. So it's not going to stop. People want to donate 1,000 or 500 or the 2,700. It's only those that are doing big markers, big dollars. And then every time they reach that 10 or 20,000, they will have to go back. And that starts the day after an election to the day of the next election, the election cycle. The other big change is we're taking into consideration Proposition 306. And I've heard rumors that there are some groups out there that want to repeal 306 for 2020. We'll see what happens, which I think they should. I mean, one part of it's okay, but the other part is what gave the governor's office regulatory oversight of the Clean Elections Commission. That's bad. So we have put language in there that will prevent them from doing that, or prevent anybody from doing that. And the Clean Elections Commission will not have to answer to anyone when it comes to promulgating rules regarding dark money disclosure. And so there are some other little changes, but that's it. In 2018, we needed about 226,000 ballot signatures. The one good thing about, we all love the voter turnout in 2018, which was 2.4 million votes cast in the state. That raised our bar really high. There's good and bad of everything, right? So for 2020, for a constitutional amendment, which we still believe that is the best way to go, because they can't mess with it. They would have to go, the legislature would have to go back to the voters. Okay, there is no, let's approve this law, or let's do that, which they do a lot of times, right? They're doing that with school vouchers, trying to, with ESA. So we are going to need valid signatures, 356,457. We're going for 500,000. I mean, although if the paid circulators hadn't been an issue, and it wasn't them the last time, we still would have, we would have made it, but by a very small margin. So we're going for really high, but we've got 15 plus months. I mean, we did 30,000 a month for 5 months. Now, we're not going to keep up that high rate, but, one of the reasons I wanted to take over Northern Arizona is I want to see, work harder on the other counties outside of Yavapai and Coconino. Did I do that? It sounds better. I've already been working with Miss Afoy from Navajo County. I'm going to work with Cheryl, Eaton. So I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling, and so will Becky. So I think we can do it, but this is where we need you guys. I mean, I really worry if we don't get this done this time, it'll never happen. And the rules are just going to keep getting worse and worse. The voter suppression, our constitutional right to put initiatives on the ballot is just going to get worse and worse. So we need to do this now. I am grateful to the Democratic parties around the state who want to help us. Who want to get their PCs out on the street now, get them comfortable, get them meeting the people in their precincts, get them ready for 2020, and they want to take our petition. And we are grateful for that, and they're going to provide all the training that we can. One of the several changes we're making, we do have a new campaign manager. His name is John Sutton. In 2018, John was the field director for the State Democratic Party. So I really like the guy. I haven't met him in person yet, but talked to him. But what excites me about him is that he understands the demographic and geographic challenges we have in northern Arizona. I mean, yeah, we have Flagstaff here, but you drive a few miles out, you're rural. And it's a different world. I lived in parks for 25 years, so I know what rural is. And when I first moved there, I mean, I still didn't have I hadn't lived on a dirt road in 25 years till we moved down to Dewey. I was like, wow. So I'm really excited about that. For the petitions, one of the things Katie Hobbs' office is going to allow us to do this year is to put in bold on top of the top part of the petition on the front page, Outlaw Dirty Money. So that's really big, because, you know, last year we had so many petitions flying around, and so plus getting out early, getting out now is going to make a big thing. We're going to provide more notaries. Kelsey's a notary, Becky's going to become a notary, I'm a notary. You know, we're going to make sure each major area has at least one, if not two, and then I'll talk to the rural areas. So we're going to have more availability for you for getting your petitions notarized, and we'll make sure you know when you can go and get them notarized. Working with other groups, whether it be faith-based groups or SOS, Invest in Ed. In fact, one of the guys on our campaign doing a lot of background work worked on the Invest in Ed in the background, a guy named Kiernan. So that's really good. So we get more experienced people in there, more speaking engagements, local volunteers to help us in more ways than one. I'm going to have there'll be a number of opportunities you can sit at home and do on your computer. If you're good at helping us pull up a list of finding events that we can post, or finding places where people can go, coffee house, sit out in front of a restaurant where you can find out where we can get people out to sit, and we're going to push people harder. Hey, can you go next week? Can you give me an hour, you know, a couple of days this week or something? That's what's going to get us that 500,000. We're going to be a lot stricter on tracking incoming, going petitions, and we're going to, if we see petitions that are out there for a month, we're probably going to be contacting you and say, can you get them notarized and get them in, even if they have just one signature? Because we have to know all through the process how viable everything's going to be. We can't wait till the last few months, you know. So we're kind of going to be a pain in the, you know what, that way, but this is why. Did a website, and you'll be hearing a lot more. You know, one of the things that worked for me in Yavapai County was I emailed people at least once a week, just letting them know how things are going. You guys want to know the numbers. You guys want to know if there's events out there. You guys want to know what Terry has to say. And I did that in Yavapai County. In fact, I would run into people that I've been emailing for months. I'd never met in person. I knew their name, and when I'd introduce myself, they'd say, "Oh, you're the one who emails me." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry for spamming you." And they'd be like, "No, you kept me motivated, and you gave me good information. I won't repeat myself, I promise. I won't spam you too much. I'll give you things, you know, just to try and keep you motivated and give you information." Becky will too. She'll probably be sending out the ones in Coconino, but you know, sometimes you'll get them from both of us, but we'll coordinate that. And I think that's about it. So hopefully in a few weeks we will have petitions. Oh, new training materials. There'll be all new training materials. We'll even have sample petitions for you from last year that shows what's good, what's not. We'll be working with Kelsey. Everybody who signs out a petition will get a packet of information. And they'll be in sleeves, and it'll be easy to carry around with you. things like in a nutshell, questions and answers, sample petition, all sorts of stuff. We're going to promote, nobody's going to get just one petition. You're going to get at least 2 or 3, and that's because especially in Flagstaff, Sedona, Prescott area, we all have people who come visit us out of the valley, right? Or Pima, and say, here, why are you here? Can you sign this, please? And we will be tracking. One of the things we're going to be doing is when notarized petitions go back into the office, say to Kelsey, we'll pick them up. We're then going to have 2 sets of eyes, making sure that everything looks good, notarized correctly. We then send them down to Phoenix. We then have a volunteer crew down there that will be entering them into a database and using against VAN for voter certification, voter verification. So, and a lot of the stuff, like for instance, people say, well, what if they say that they don't know I signed already? Tell them to sign again. We will weed that out. And that's another reason we want to get these petitions back in as we go along, because we don't want to see a lot of duplicates. We don't want to have false numbers coming back to us. So,
but you're telling us to tell people to go ahead and...
Yeah, go ahead and sign it again. That's okay, because the duplicates will be discounted, disqualified. But if they don't remember, just have it sign it again. Bless you. And that's okay. We did the same thing last year. Last year a lot of people were worried about, well, I heard signing above and below the lines. Actually Nancy Reagan's office never threw out a signature for that. And we just tell people, if you got somebody with a really flowery signature, just carry a ruler and cross off the next blank line and have the next person go to the next one. We're going to have plenty of petitions. You don't have to worry about, wasting space or wasting lines. We'll have plenty of petitions to give out. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I'm still a Wisconsin voter. Can I sign Arizona petitions or not?
You cannot sign an Arizona petition. As long as you are eligible to vote in the state, you can gather signatures. No, you don't have to be registered. You just have to be eligible. So you can help out by gathering signatures. But no, you need to register to vote in Arizona.
I'll still vote in Wisconsin, but when I'm here, I cannot.
Absolutely, because we have a lot of snowbirds down in the valley who come in the winter, and they helped us a lot down there. So, good question. Somebody at the door breakfast asked the same question. Any other questions? No? Okay. I think I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you. Yeah. You haven't seen the last of me. You'll probably hear from Becky more, but you haven't seen the last of me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have speakers for a variety of different issues, and we bring candidates into these lunches to expose them. And we don't always endorse. This is for information. But the Coconino County Democratic Party is definitely endorsing this issue, and our precinct coordinators are working very hard to coordinate with the Dirty Money Campaign. Kelsey will be contributing time at the office in terms of notarizing petitions as they come in. And we are, as Diane said, going to be using this as a process to train new people about canvassing. If you are interested in working with us on this campaign, and we'll be doing it for the next several months through the summer, I urge you to come to one of our, we call them PC volunteer trainings. And let me just pull up the calendar.
Next class is coming Tuesday. Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday at noon, and then it'll be the following Tuesday at 5:30. So we alternate them on alternate Tuesdays, noon or 5:30. You can go to our website, coconinodemocrats.org, and see that on the calendar, as well as the list of all of our other events. And one of the events that I should also mention, because Diane mentioned RTS training, this Sunday here at the Cornish Pasty, we'll be doing what we call RTS office hours, which is an opportunity to get trained if you have not been using Request to Speak, but it's also an opportunity, if you have been using it, to come in and ask questions and brush up your skills. So our PC leader, Daryl Boomgartner, will be here for that on Sunday. And that's at 1:30, between 1:30 and 3:30. Just walk in sometime in that 2-hour period. The other thing I want to announce is our major fundraising event for the year, which is coming up March 30. We call it the Roosevelt Kennedy Dinner. It's the event that gives us the power to do all that we do throughout the year, including keeping the office open and paying Kelsey and running meetings at places where we have to pay fees for the place, unlike this one. And so I urge you to come to this dinner. Our featured speakers are Katie Hobbs, our brand new Secretary of State, and Kathy Hoffman, our brand new Superintendent of Public Instruction. We're celebrating them and all the other Democrats who were elected last round. And I think one of the things that Diane said was very important, which is if we don't do this in 2020, we might not be able to do it. We came very close in flipping the legislature last time, and we have a great candidate in Felicia French, who's announced she's running again. She lost her race last time, but just a few hundred votes. So our goal is to get her over the finish line with a win in 2020. And of course, we also want to unseat that guy in the White House, whoever may run against him. So thank you all for coming, and I hope that you will get more involved with the Coconino County Democratic Party.